She won 2 of her 7 Grand Slam titles at the Open, but it looks like time and a fragile knee are catching up to her. Even in defeat, a sellout crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium gave Venus a standing ovation as she left the court. The Dodgers had 16 hits in their win last night over Arizona. They got home runs from Will Smith and Mookie Betts. Betts' homer was his 36th this season, a career high. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
I jump up on the stage and do my money dance. I throw some money up and watch the money land. I do my money dance. I do my money dance. I jump up on the stage and do my money dance. I throw some money up and watch the money land. I do my money dance. I do my money dance. I jump up on the stage and do my money dance. I throw some money up and watch the money land. I fell in love when I touched my first 100 grand. I fell in love when I touched my first 100 bands. And now we on the millions. I watch the money jump. I just send a bird and let the money come. I just watched the million turn into another one. I just watched the million turn into another one. Maserati swerving. Shout out to the plug. Diamonds on the rollie. Just for selling drugs. Counting all this money. I done fell in love. Counting all this money. I done fell in love. I jump up on the stage and do my money dance. I throw some money up and watch the money land. I do my money dance. I do my money dance. I jump up on the stage and do my money dance.
Welcome to Wealth Building Wednesdays, where we center Black, women, and BIPOC-owned businesses, highlight opportunities and initiatives for underrepresented entrepreneurs, and center socially innovative enterprises, building generational prosperity, fostering real networking, and recycling Black dollars. It's Wealth Building Wednesdays on KBLA Talk 1580.
It is an incredible Wealth Building Wednesday around here, and we're doing something really special. Happy to welcome in a model based in LA who also finds ways to champion sustainability and healthy living. She is an urban farmer, empowering communities through access to land and food, and now the star of a new NatGeo program called Farm Dream. Indy Officinalis, welcome.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love this idea of Wealth Building Wednesdays. This is such an incredible opportunity. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming. You know, it's funny because I try to create segments to remind myself about certain things that we have to touch on regularly. And one of them is building wealth. And I guess there's a lot of different ways to build wealth, right? Sometimes we just think about cash and, you know, annuities and that kind of thing. But land and growing things is a really underrated way of building wealth, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Especially just the wealth of skills that you learn, even if you're just growing a small garden in your backyard. I mean, I think that it's one of those irreplaceable skills that everyone should at least endeavor to try to work towards growing their own food.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try. I do not have a green thumb. How did you, you started growing your own food when you were just a teenager, right?
Yeah.
How did you,
exactly.
what made you want to do that? I mean, what drew you to that?
It started with just this idea that, I wanted to put better food into my body. I mean, as we know, especially as Black individuals, our health is everything, and we are the only people looking out for us. So I started learning about organic food, and then comes in, a lack of resources, a lack of wealth, where I wasn't able to just go out and afford, fresh produce, fresh organic produce. But I realized how cheap packets of seeds are. They're like, $2.75, and you get 50 seeds. So I was like, okay, that, $7 for one mango or $2.75 and grow carrots all year round. So I started from there, and then I just kept learning and trading my time to work on different farms and just kind of gaining my skills that way.
Did you find that is this one of those things the music goes off and I found my purpose, or was it a little struggly?
It was definitely struggly. I mean, I think that most people can relate that usually the job that you start doing as a teenager, you just kind of get stuck doing for a while until someone shakes you out of it. So there was a lot of just kind of like fake it till you make it. I wasn't sure if growing food was even my passion for the longest time. And then once I stepped away from it and, I finally saved up enough money, went back to college, and I went to college for public health. And I was sitting there in a college class and I was like, man, looking out the window, like, I just want to be outside. I just want to be growing food. And that was kind of my wake up moment.
That was your light bulb moment. I love it.
Yeah.
So kind of a journey back to yourself and back to your purpose.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And to that note, I think a lot of us grew up with that idea that, just go to college, you'll get a good job. And, speaking of wealth and speaking of savings, I mean, going to college isn't financially feasible for a lot of folks. So I do always encourage people to explore trades, explore other options. College doesn't, need to be taken out of the picture, but it also doesn't necessarily need to be the end goal.
Yeah, but the picture that you kind of gave us of your journey so far is, a little windy, but it's not that windy. I mean, I think to your point, this idea that we need to go, I heard one of my colleagues talking yesterday about how, we need to decide what we're going to do in college based on the odds of that being a lucrative career in the future. And I'm thinking to myself, but that's your life. Like, what if you hate it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To me, It can't just be about odds and what's going to be lucrative. It also has to be about what's going to be fulfilling, or what did you get put here to do, or what are the odds that you'll be happy with your life when you look back on it decades later, those odds.
It's so true. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So, but you are considered now an expert on farming. So it's not like you just picked up a few packets of seeds and grew some plants. I mean, right? You invested some real intellectual and physical effort into understanding everything about this particular area.
Yeah. I grew myself slowly. So a lot of the work that I did at the beginning was work trade. So I would work on a farm in trade for room and board, which I highly do not recommend doing. There's a lot of physical labor involved in farming, and they should be paying you, know your worth. So I did that for a long time. And then as I saved up money here and there from working odd jobs or working at the farmer's market, I would invest back into myself. So I attended classes, workshops about organic and regenerative farming. And I just kind of did that until I guess there was that kind of light bulb moment where one day I was managing a small community garden in a predominantly Black neighborhood. And all of a sudden, I just knew things. All of a sudden I felt like I had the answers to questions about land and about growing food that I didn't realize I had accumulated over the past few years at that time. So, I don't know if you can ever truly be an expert farmer, but I'm a lifelong student. So there's always opportunity to grow and keep learning.
I want to continue this conversation. I want to talk about your show. Most people hear model and farmer, they think, you model farming, but you don't farm as a model. And now we maybe have added another layer of complexity and or confusion with your NatGeo show and how you're combining all of these things. And then there's an element of reclaiming Black agriculture and what that means. We'll look at all of that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More First Things First with Dominique DePrimo when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of Black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to Black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership. It's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community. And it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like watering your lawn during the hottest time of the day and leaky faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car really needs a wash.
The $20 McGuire's bundle includes Gold Class Car Wash for a showroom shine.
Get in zone.
And what about my tires?
Just spray the included Hot Shine tire coating and you're all set.
Get in zone.
The inside is not great.
No problem. The quick interior detailer in the bundle can help with that too.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
She's so smooth, so
I'm interrupting my own shower to remind you to treat your skin like the queen she is with Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash, packed with Olay's highest level of vitamin B3 complex. It's so moisturizing that it will give you visibly smoother, head-turning skin in just 14 days. People wondering, how'd she get so smooth? Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash. Also, try Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
It does, and we're doing a specially extended Wealth Building Wednesday segment with the star of the NatGeo series called Farm Dreams. She's a model. I didn't realize you were also a poet and a farmer. How does all that stuff fit together?
I know. It's one of those, speaking of wealth building, it's one of those things where it was just skill building for me along the way. And just this idea that you don't have to have just one career, one title. You can be a plethora of things. So I don't know how it fits together.
Well, it's working for you, apparently. Modeling, I don't know what to even ask you about that, because just most of us just don't think of models as farmers, but but also you're now a TV show host.
Right. I know. It's been such a funny journey. And I get that a lot, that modeling and farming kind of seem like disparate career paths. But I do focus a lot on farm workers' rights and the sustainability aspect of the modeling world. So I try to bring a little bit of reality to to the fashion scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm not asking that from the standpoint of maybe a stereotype of modeling. Maybe I am, she'll break a nail when she's farming. Not so much that, because I think the point you just made is important. There are a lot of people in the modeling world that are also activists. That's not unusual. And I think probably it's maybe underreported, but it's not something that doesn't happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And they can both be really time-consuming jobs. I see why it's kind of hard to figure out how the two of them fit together. There have been times where I've ran from doing dirty, gritty farm work to a photo shoot. That's a totally different world.
Yeah, that seems interesting, actually. So when you talk about sustainability and kind of the activism piece, which is one connective tissue, I would think, between your work as a model and your work as a farmer and your work as a television host and your work as a poet, all of those have lots of room for activism. And the issues of sustainability and where Black people in general, Black women in particular, get to show up in those spaces is also part of the activist kind of agenda there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would have stopped modeling, before I even started if I hadn't realized the value of just representation, especially for young Black women. Just seeing someone who looks like you reflected in ads and billboards, I feel like is not something that I got to see a lot growing up. And I believe that that's incredibly important. And, to that same tune, the same with farming, we really do, as Black women, need to reclaim our place in our relationship with the land.
And go a little deeper on that. Because, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so, I grew up very much thinking that doing outside work, doing dirty work, getting your shoes dirty, was just not something that we as Black people in general could or should do. I think we all know as Black people, we had to and have to, present as 2 times cleaner than our white counterparts and 2 times smarter just to be treated really half as equal. And I think that, in developing a relationship with the land, with the soil, and realizing that we can come back, we can nurture the soil, we can get our hands dirty, we can grow our own food. It doesn't have to be something that's being done to us as it has been for so long. It doesn't have to be an oppressive nature anymore. I think that that's really important, not just in healing the land, but in healing ourselves as Black individuals. We're not very far removed from, a lot of us aren't very far removed from being enslaved people. So I do understand why some of the elders in my family were like, oh no, like you're not farming. We worked so hard to make it so that you have to farm. But by taking that back and by reclaiming that and starting the relationship with the land on my terms, I've learned a lot about myself and about my ancestors. And I think it honors the sacrifice that my ancestors have given and helps celebrate some of that knowledge that we as Black Americans have learned along the way.
Yeah. And of course, we see Black farmers in this country struggling to keep their land. And we've seen this incredible erosion of the amount of land that Black people are farming and controlling and owning in this country. How does that play into your purpose?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's so much just like, I'm always telling people, like, if you can buy land, if you have land, keep your land by any means necessary. And I know a lot of families that, are kind of quick to sell off their little piece of land because they don't have a connection to it. It's like they grew up in California and their grandma, left them an eighth of an acre in Mississippi, and they're, just kind of waiting for that piece to be sold so they can use the money. But I encourage people to go, if you have ancestral land, go visit it and create that relationship with the land. Land is so much more valuable, in my opinion, especially ancestral land, that so much more valuable than just a dollar could ever express. So I think all Black Americans should be buying up land if they can. And also there's a lot of, there's a Black Farmers Fund in New York State. There are resources out there to keep Black folks on the land.
So I feel like I'm doing a bad job of really exploring your different titles and your different skill sets. Explain to me the difference between farming and foraging.
Yeah. So farming is intentionally, planting seeds and harvesting a crop, and foraging is becoming skilled in plant identification and ethically harvesting plants that are already growing. So, you're imagining going out into a wild space or even an urban space and identifying, hey, that's wild dandelion. I can harvest that and eat that. It's not something that you planted. It's just something you identified and harvested.
Right. I'm glad you said skills, because especially when it comes to mushrooms, you definitely want to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. And I always tell people there's actually a lot more poisonous, toxic plants than there are poisonous mushrooms.
Really?
But, yeah, definitely. But there's a lot of inedible mushrooms. So yeah, I would take a class, especially from Black leaders in your area. Take a foraging class.
Mm. Tell us about your show. Like, where can we see it? Obviously NatGeo, but I think it's a lot of other places too. And why should we see it?
Yeah, so it's on NatGeo Wild on, traditional cable. And you can also stream it on Hulu and on Disney Plus. I think it's important to watch because we don't get to see a lot of the stories of American farmers, and that's really what the show is about. It's kind of a makeover show, so it does have that fun feel where I come to a farm and I identify the problems that the farm is having, and offer them advice and solutions to make their farm more viable and more lucrative.
So you're kind of like the Gordon Ramsay of farming.
Yes, exactly. But it's a feel-good show, and I don't think that there's enough feel-good TV out there.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, especially for kids, I think it's important to just see Black female farmers doing their thing on TV, honestly. Even if, farming isn't your thing, I think let's just normalize these images.
Yeah, well, I definitely, would like to learn. And I think there is also a movement, maybe I'm sure you know more about this than I do. The urban farming movement seems to be blowing up more now, too, as we think about, sustainability and also just food prices.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always tell people you don't have to have acres of land to grow your own food. You can grow your own food in an apartment. And I have many of times. One of the farms that I started on in Los Angeles was a rooftop farm on Skid Row, which you can also see in one of the episodes of the TV show. But, if people are able to grow food on Skid Row in Los Angeles, then anyone can grow food anywhere.
Yeah. Got about a minute here, Indy Officinalis. What do you want to leave us with?
I just plant something. I tell everyone, please just do yourself a favor, buy a packet of seeds, whatever you eat the most. If you're always using cilantro, get some cilantro seeds, put them in a cup in some soil in your windowsill, and grow something.
Yeah. I love that. I'm going to do it, even though, I get scared because I think I'm going to kill the thing. But in honor of you, Indy Officinalis, I'm going to grow a thing. And I think it's a beautiful way to build wealth, a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of, food, sustainability, imagery. So it's really nice meeting you. And you can follow, does the show have a page? I have you, Indy Officinalis. I follow you on Instagram. But does the show have a page?
The show doesn't have a page, but I share a lot about the show on my personal Instagram page.
All right. Or just tune it in on NatGeo, on Hulu, or on Disney Plus. Indy, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Have a good rest of your day.
And you as well. When we come forward, we're going to be talking Jacksonville with a state senator there, the very same state senator you saw giving Governor DeSantis the side eye in a now viral photo. State Representative Angie Nixon joins us when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Hurricane Idalia has made landfall in Florida as a strong Category 3 storm. The eye came ashore in Keaton Beach in the Big Bend area of the state's Gulf Coast. With sustained winds of 125 miles per hour, the storm is bringing the potential for catastrophic devastation. The National Hurricane Center predicting storm surge could reach as high as 16 feet. The last of former President Trump's co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case is out of jail. African-American Harrison Floyd posted a $100,000 bond Tuesday. He's accused of harassing an election worker after the 2020 election. He was also charged this year with assaulting an FBI agent who sought to issue a federal subpoena. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you earned doubled. The cash back from trips, restaurants, all doubled. Seriously, though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We should start preparing ourselves for a goodbye message from tennis legend Venus Williams. The 43-year-old Compton native appears to be in the final phase of her historic career. For the third straight year, Venus was eliminated in the first round of the U.S. Open. She lost in 2 sets Monday night to Greet Menin of Belgium. Before this recent losing streak, Venus was 21-0 in the first round in the U.S. Open. She won 2 of her 7 Grand Slam titles at the Open, but it looks like time and a fragile knee are catching up to her. Even in defeat, a sellout crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium gave Venus a standing ovation as she left the court. The Dodgers had 16 hits in their win last night over Arizona. They got home runs from Will Smith and Mookie Betts. Betts' homer was his 36th this season, a career high. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
Hello, I'm Kate Levy. When I was just 10 years old, I lost my father, Joe, in the 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center. He was a lieutenant in the New York City Fire Department. For 9/11 this year, now a National Day of Service, I'll be doing what my dad loved to do, helping others in need. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org to learn more.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it. Together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
And we appreciate you being here with us. I am happy to welcome in this morning someone born and raised in Northwest Jacksonville. She is the state representative for District 13 in Florida, Representative Angie Nixon. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. First, let me ask you, are you safe? I know that Hurricane Idalia is hitting Florida right now.
Yeah, we're okay here right now in Jacksonville. I know there's probably going to be some flooding in our area, so I plan to do a ride along after I get off the call with you to check on my constituents.
Yeah. Well, hope that everything turns out fine for you and in Jacksonville. And I know you guys are experienced with that kind of thing, but with Mother Nature, you don't want to take anything for granted.
Exactly.
In your bio, you talk really candidly about your upbringing. Born and raised in Northwest Jacksonville, you say, on contaminated soil, bust across the bridge for elementary school because your neighborhood schools didn't have the same resources as other schools, and you talk about losing a cousin to gun violence and the school to prison pipeline. It sounds like all of these things inspired you to step up as a leader.
Yeah, for sure. I just didn't want my daughter to have to go through the same thing that I went through. And it's so interesting because my favorite cousin that got killed is actually her favorite cousin's her favorite cousin that was his dad. And so,
wow.
Right. I just, I want to make sure that I am leaving a better place for my kids as well as for my cousin's kids, and just for all Floridians here across the state of Florida. And so I was kind of pushed into this based on my upbringing. But I feel that, all Floridians, no matter what zip code you live in, what race you are, who you love, who you worship, I feel that we all deserve the right to live healthy, prosperous, and safe. And I'm just frankly tired of us just surviving. I feel as though we should be thriving and actually flourishing. We deserve that. We deserve joy. We deserve to not live in terror or fear of going to the grocery store. Yeah. We deserve to just be.
Yeah. Well, and it's I commend you for doing that because it's really important to have people representing us, not just people that are Black, but also people that understand, what it's like to be poor or working class, or, to deal directly with the challenges that our community is calling for solutions to.
Correct. Most definitely. And so a lot of people are assuming that I only care about Black issues. I care about all issues, but I make it very clear that I am a Black woman, and I have a lived experience, and so I legislated in that way. However, like I stated earlier, I'm here, and I believe that all Floridians deserve, the right to just, again, live healthy, prosperous, and safe. But what we've seen with this leadership here in our state, those who are in power, is we've seen an attack on marginalized communities, particularly Black communities, but also members of the LGBTQ community. We've also seen an attack on workers and an attack on women. And, for this to be touted as the free state of Florida by our governor, he sure is rolling quite a bit of our freedoms back. And I can't just sit idly by and allow him to turn our democracy into basically fascism and authoritarianism.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this governor is very politically ambitious. He cares more about running for president than he does the people in our state. He's very vindictive. He is hurting Floridians, and it is simply, again, because of his political ambitions. He decided to veto appropriations and infrastructure dollars for folks because they were in Democratic areas, or if they were in a Republican area. He vetoed one specific legislator's appropriations that would have helped his community. He vetoed them because he endorsed Trump and not him. And so that's the type of leadership that Ron DeSantis is pushing out here. And imagine if he had the power of the president and the White House behind him. Imagine what he would do to people who spoke out against him. He should be addressing issues like the fact we have a 9,000 educator shortage across the state. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to teach our babies, right? He should be addressing the fact that our property insurance is so unaffordable, and we're facing a hurricane right now, and there are people who are uninsured because instead of looking out for Floridians, he decided to give a $3 billion bailout to insurance companies because they padded his campaign coffers. Instead of addressing the rising cost of rent and the fact that we have even more homeless folks living on the streets in Florida, he instead just continually pads his campaign donors' pockets by providing corporate tax breaks. And it's not right. Again, Floridians are hurting. I oftentimes have people calling my office saying they're fearful to live here, they're leaving, or they don't know what to do because they can't afford to leave. Right. And that is not a free state.
Well, honestly, I mean, I was so happy to see you, first of all, calling out your governor for, his role in that white terror extremist attack on Jacksonville, where 3 black people were actually murdered. I was happy to see you calling him out. I mean, for us living in California, other parts of the country, as black people living there, we see your governor and the things he's doing, trying to erase black history, attacking black people, and not even acknowledging systemic racism or, white supremacist terror. And then to show up and act like, he's trying to play the role of governor. We were happy to see you calling him out, happy to see people booing him for that hypocrisy of trying to act like he's, part of the solution when he's part of the problem.
Right. Look, at the end of the day, he has blood on his hands. And I'm trying to figure out how some folks are saying, well, look, he's helping EWU and he's decided to help this community now. He's bringing them gifts. He's bringing them money. That money is ours to begin with. That's taxpayer money. We deserve that money before this even happened. And, let's be clear. We knew who Ron DeSantis was when he first ran for governor against a black man, Andrew Gillum, when he said, don't monkey this up. Yeah. Like, that's who he was. And my first term in office, I was elected in 2020. And my first legislative term in office, he decided to push his priority bill. His number one priority bill was HB 1, the anti-protest bill, which he crafted. They crafted out of after the majority peaceful protest due to the brutal execution of George Floyd, and us, many around the country coming together and pushing us back against police brutality and anti-blackness and white supremacy. And so they decided to push this anti-protest bill because they wanted to scare us to not gather or without facing the threat of being labeled a riot and getting a felony and being sent to jail. Like, he does not like folks that dissent or disagree with him openly. That's evident by what he did with Disney, the attack on Disney. But like his anti-black attacks, they have gone on since he's been in office. Not only did he push that anti-protest bill, but he also removed black congressional access districts. He also did this Stop Woke agenda, which we know is just a racist dog whistle for folks. It really means stop black,
And so he made it so that we can't even learn true history. Our children can't learn true history if it makes some people uncomfortable. And then he went on to remove diversity, equity, and inclusion programs within colleges and public colleges and universities because he does not want people to be equitable. Like, how can you be a leader and you don't want equity? And it is so wild to me that he's only doing this because he wants to pander to a base of voters instead of actually helping Floridians. We are hurting. Many of my colleagues have stated time and time again that this rhetoric was going to cause harm. Yeah. And in fact, on Saturday, it illustrated that what we said was true. It came to pass. And so he is responsible for this. I say that was blood money that he's given us. And the fact that he still could not call that guy a racist. He's calling him a scumbag. He still will not say what took place on Saturday was racist violence and white domestic terrorism, because that's what it was. They have terrorized our communities. I have moms who have told me that their children are afraid for them to go to the grocery store because they don't think they're going to come back. I have seniors that I've talked to. They do not want to go to the store. That is not a way in which we should be living here in the United States of America. And that is why we do not need this man to lead us in the free world. And we have to stop him in his tracks.
Yeah. Well, when we come forward, I want to get an update for you. Like, how can we help not just stop him in his tracks, but in the aftermath of this terrible white extremist terror attack? Where are we now? How can we help? And what do we need to know? We'll get to all of that with State Representative Angie Nixon when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 is inviting you to join us on Saturday, September 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for our very first economic empowerment event for the community. This event is free and is powered by Caltrans. We're doing this in association with Rambo House, and here's Rambo to tell you more.
Contracts. I'm going to say it again for all of us small business owners out there. Contracts. Rambo House, KBLA, Tavis, me. Oh my God, this is going to be massive. I truly thank Caltrans for giving us the opportunity to focus on contracts. Listen, that's what it's all about to be a small business in LA. That's how we hire our own. That's how we expand our community is contracts. KBLA1580.com is for you to have a seat at our contracts-focused event. Contract Ready does it again. We had over 900 last time. So you guys know how exciting this is. And if you just think that you want to get into contracts and you're close to it, bring your friends out for September 16th at the Marriott Hotel. Listen, you know where to register. KBLA1580.com. Come see me. I can't wait to see you. Let's do it, Tavis.
So be sure to go to KBLA1580.com for all the details. We'll see you Saturday, September 16th.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at ChooseMat.org.
Wake up, people. You are optimizing every waking hour of your life. From carpooling kids, to work, to friends, and everything in between. You have to get sleep, and a bed that can perform as well as you do. Meet the next generation Sleep Number Smart Bed. It effortlessly adjusts to your shape, position, and movements, learning how you sleep, so you learn to sleep better, night after night. Sleep next level, only from Sleep Number.
Don't miss our Labor Day special. Save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed, plus free delivery when you add a base. Ends Labor Day.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, it's my pleasure to talk with Florida State Representative Angie Nixon. Looking at your website, and I love that you have all of these bills that you've sponsored and exactly what happened to them. I wish all of our electeds would do that, make it easy for us to track. It certainly sounds like you are working on solutions for some of the problems you've outlined. You know, you with voting rights, you tried it. It died in ethics, elections, and open government subcommittee, and exactly what you talked about concerning insurance, emergency residential property insurance, dies in the insurance and banking subcommittee. I'm not going to go over all of them. Certainly you've had some successes as well, but it shows what kind of obstacles you run into as a lawmaker trying to address these urgent needs in your community. And certainly, I think the eyes of the world are on Jacksonville right now, definitely the eyes of the black world after that white supremacist, white terror attack at the dollar store there. How can we help? How can we help get around some of these obstacles? How can we help you help your constituents?
Yeah, for sure. So there are a lot of organizations that are doing great work on the ground, one of which I'm happy to be the executive director of, which is Florida for All. We are a statewide alignment group and coalition of organizations working to build power in Black and brown communities and help underserved and under-resourced communities. So if folks are interested, they can visit our website. It's floridaforall.vote. It's spelled out, floridaforall.vote. And they can sign up and learn what we have going on. They can support us monetarily because we have organizers that are doing the work. And that's what it's going to take. You know, during the civil rights movement, we were able to gain a lot of our rights through organizing, through grassroots organizing, and that's what we do at Florida for All. And it's really important that folks don't write Florida off just because they think it may go right. It may turn red during the presidential election. The fact of the matter is that there are people that are here and living here, and that are going to be here, living here, regardless of is it a red or blue or purple state. And we need your support. We need to be able to push back against this extremism and this fascism and this white supremacy. If we don't, you know, it's going to just further permeate throughout the rest of the country. A lot of times they test out bills here in Florida to see how they play before they try to move them across the country. And it's really important for folks to really support the people here to ensure that, again, we have the ability to live healthy, prosperous, and safe again.
Yeah. When I read the book, The Warmth of Other Suns, it was an eye-opener for me about the deeply entrenched, racism, the tradition of racism and white terror in Florida, because that's not the image of the state. We think of Mississippi, maybe Alabama, Arkansas. But when I read that book, I realized Florida is maybe number one in the United States as far as that history of white terror. How can we push back on that, for Angela Carr, for Gerald Gallion, for A.J. Laguerre, all of whom were murdered at that dollar store, for the people murdered in Buffalo, and what the FBI says is the number one threat to our security here in the United States.
Right. So how we help push back is we help expose it, and we don't remain complicit, and we talk about it. Folks like to play respectability politics, I am seeing, and I've learned over the years, but like my friend and colleague in the legislature, Representative Michelle Rayner, has stated, respectability politics has gotten us killed. There is nothing disrespectful or politically incorrect by telling the truth and letting people know what's happening and how this rhetoric is devaluing our humanity. And we have to to continue to do that day in, day out in all the conversations that we have. If you hear someone say something that you know is not right, we need to speak out about it. We need to continue to push back. We need to make sure we're working to let folks know that politics plays a role in each and everything that we do. And it's important for us to gain our power back. And one of the ways we can do that is by ensuring that folks vote. And, the fact that they want us to be helpless. They want us to feel like nothing will change. They want us to feel like it's rigged. But it's not, which is why they spend billions of dollars to suppress our vote and get their vote out, right? It's not rigged. We have to come together and agitate ourselves and hold each other accountable and demand what we're owed, take it to the ballot box and make sure we're voting. And that way we can build a country for all.
It's true. The picture, the now viral picture of you with your Stand with Black Women shirt, standing next to Governor Ron DeSantis, giving him, the look that we were all feeling. It's funny, but it's also, to me, it shows that you are more than willing to speak truth to power, and how when people like him start double talking, or the presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy says that, Florida's white terror shooting was a mental health crisis and won't even say racism, that voices like yours and facial expressions like yours are more important than ever. And so I do want to thank you for being brave.
And thank you for bringing me on your show to just let folks know what's happening in Florida, and for also highlighting the lives that were lost. I just want to prevent this from happening. I just want to, I got in this because I stated earlier, I want my daughter to not have to fight for the same things that I've had to fight for, and that my mom and my grandmother had to fight for. And I just want to leave, your listeners with this. Like, again, we deserve to live healthy, prosperous, and safe. But as we see, no one's really going to come save us. We have to save ourselves. But we are the heroes we've been waiting for. And so I just want everyone to, take that call to action, to get involved. Please visit our website. Continue to talk about this and uplift the fact that Ron DeSantis is hurting Floridians, and that he will hurt Americans if he does become president. And so continue to push back against him, and just continue to fight back against white supremacy.
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot, it's a lot more encouraging to do so, looking at you over there in the heart of DeSantis country doing just that. Often we read about it from here and we think, ooh, I don't know if I would stay there. But, to your excellent point, not everybody can leave. So somebody's got to stay and fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone has to stay and fight, and I'm willing to stay and fight for a better Florida for all.
Well, Representative, Angie Nixon, we really, really appreciate you checking in with us, and hope you'll consider us your home away from home.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
We're talking with an empowered Indigenous poet next. Yes, a lot going on around here. Meet former San Francisco Poet Laureate Kim Shuck when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Hurricane Idalia has made landfall in Florida as a strong Category 3 storm. The eye came ashore in Keaton Beach in the Big Bend area of the state's Gulf Coast. With sustained winds of 125 miles per hour, the storm is bringing the potential for catastrophic devastation. The National Hurricane Center predicting storm surge could reach as high as 16 feet. The last of former President Trump's co-defendants in the